Hey everyone, thank you so much for attending our Professionalism in the Online Workplace HR Power Hour. We are very excited to share this topic with you, and take it away, Sarah.
All right, thank you everybody. Thank you, Suzanne. And today I'm actually going to be giving the reins over to Alicia Moody, our HR consultant, to talk to you about professionalism in the workplace. But a little bit of background first on EOS HR. We are an HR consulting company that manages the HR department and the HR functions for small businesses, specifically working with companies who are getting ready to hire their first employees or working with up to around 50 employees, and really helping with topics like professionalism in the workplace and how to manage your employees to get what you need and expect out of them to create a professional and effective workplace. So with that, I will turn it over to Alicia so that she can discuss in more detail what this looks like and what we mean by professionalism in the workplace.
Thank you, Sarah. So I'm going to get past our bios there. So today I will be discussing professionalism in the online workplace and what that currently looks like, and giving some tips. We'll be defining professionalism and its value in the workplace, characteristics of professionalism, explaining how professionalism is evaluated and may be perceived, and also explaining workplace professionalism considerations. So what is professionalism? The Department of Labor defines it as conducting oneself responsibly with integrity, accountability, and excellence. It means communicating effectively and appropriately and always finding a way to be productive. Employers want workers to be responsible, ethical, and team-oriented, to possess strong communication, interpersonal, and problem-solving skills, enthusiasm/attitude, teamwork, networking, and problem-solving and critical thinking. The dictionary definition is the conduct, aims, or qualities that characterize or mark a profession or professional person. So that's a lot of words, right? That's a lot of words being thrown at you. Basically, overall, professionalism is how one shows up and demonstrates through their behavior or conduct in the workplace. So how are you showing up in your workplace and setting the example either for other coworkers or for your subordinates? So the impact on the workplace. If an employee acts unprofessionally, basically it can affect the bottom line, and it has a negative impact. So basically, here are a few tips to minimize that negative impact. You want tips to minimize the negative impact and also make sure that you're showing up as a professional in the workplace. So you want to maintain remaining objective, excuse me. So you want to do your best to remain objective and keep your emotions out of the conversations. You don't want to take things personally. There's going to be a lot of feedback given to you, whether it be by other coworkers or by your customers and your clients. And so you want to make sure that you're taking that in without making it a personal attack against you. And overall, controlling your emotions when there are things that become frustrating, which there definitely will be, or things that may make you angry, making sure that you are in control of your emotions and acting in a way that is professional and getting that point across, and not acting out. So client and customer retention. Of course, customers prefer to work with companies that treat them well, the bottom line. When it comes to interacting with customers, Remember to treat customers exactly how you would want to be treated. So basically, that is the golden rule, right? Making sure that we're treating others how we would want to be treated. And that's especially important when we're dealing with our customers and clients. But let's not forget about our employees and also our fellow, coworkers. So how we communicate with our customers and clients looks very different, especially right now. And so here are a few tips to just make sure that we're remaining professional in each of the different forms that we are communicating with our clients and customers right now. So phone and video are really big. We're not able to really be together like we would have been in the past. So we are doing a lot more phone and video meetings, phone calls, different things like that. So you want to make sure you are being prepared. Make sure that you have background on what you're going to be discussing, that you've reviewed it before you take that call or jump on that video. Confidently know your subject matter. You want to build rapport with the person that you're talking to. So it's very informal, to do a lot of these things via phone and video. So making sure that there's, a little bit of rapport building as you go through it. Make sure that you're speaking clearly. Again, things when you're not in person you can lose some of the communication. So making sure that you're speaking clearly in those instances. And for your videos, you want to make sure that you prepare your surrounding areas, your workspace, your background, and try to reduce outside noise as much as possible. We definitely know that in this day and age where everyone is at home, you may have kids, you have pets, you have your significant others that are there. And so it's not always conducive to be able to reduce noise and be understanding of that, but at least try to make sure you're taking those things into consideration.
And Alicia, I just wanted to add in a couple of points on this one, especially because it's such a hot topic right now with people shifting to more remote work. And as you said, it's important for the companies to be uh, to be understanding of these changing times, but it's also important for the companies to set expectations. So while we need to understand that people are working from home, there are going to be children and other people in the house and other noises. It's also good to make sure that you set expectations with your employees about what is acceptable. So if you have a very important client meeting, it's important for you to make sure you let employees know when you're on a call with this client, you need to make sure this is scheduled at a time when you can find daycare for your child, or somebody else can take care of the child. Or if you can't, then don't be on the call because you don't want it to be disruptive. So it is also okay to set those parameters and set that expectation. But again, as one of the things that we frequently talk about at EOSHR is setting that expectation and being clear about it. Don't assume that the employee knows that unless you actually tell them. And so I just wanted to add my 2 cents in there for making sure that you're communicating what you want the employees to do when they're communicating with the customers, especially in this unprecedented time, the buzzword of the day.
Absolutely. And Sarah, you're 100% correct. Thank you for throwing that in there. It is very important to communicate those expectations and not assume that everyone knows kind of the conduct. You set the stage for how your employees show up to your customers. So thank you. So when we're communicating through email, make sure that you're following standard rules of grammar and punctuation and capitalization. I know that email once was a little bit more lax. We used it to communicate a little bit more informally, for those of us that can remember when it kind of first started. But now we use email a lot to communicate all kinds of like really important messages to internally with each other and also to our customers and clients. So we want to make sure that we are definitely following grammar rules and things like that. Um, use a professional and conversational tone. Be brief and make your message easy to read. Sometimes there is kind of a lot of content that you need to get out. So if you are sending an email that has a lot of different points that you're trying to hit, make sure that you're maybe following that up with a phone call, following up the email with asking, was everything clear? Please let me know if you have any questions, things like that. And also the biggest thing, do not put things in all caps. A lot of times that is perceived as you're yelling, even if what you may write out is something very mundane. A lot of times people will perceive that as you're yelling. So again, be mindful of that when emailing.
And just to piggyback on the email, and something we don't actually state here, but as things are changing, people are also using text messaging as a form of communication.
Very true.
And it's important for you to set the guidelines similar to email of how people should be communicating by text. I mean, you don't want them to send a screen full of emojis to a client if that's not an appropriate way to conduct business with that client. But on the other hand, we have clients who the best way for us to communicate with them is via text. That we will get a response from them. We know that that's how they're running their business. So using similar guidelines to email when your employees are texting people, and maybe even setting up a system that you can do the texting via an online portal, so you're still capturing the information back and forth as you would an email.
Absolutely, very true. And, definitely putting on the HR compliance hat, when you are texting, if you're texting with your clients, you're liable for the things that your employees are saying in those texts, the promises that are being made in those texts. And so, and also anything that's communicated to the clients, you want to make sure, like Sarah said, that you're capturing that information somewhere so that and there's a kind of a record of what was communicated and what was agreed to. So that's a very good point. Next, we will go over face-to-face communications. I know that it is, we're doing it very minimally at the moment, but I do know that, there are businesses out there that are still having to be face-to-face, and it's always just a good reminder. So just make sure that you have a professional greeting. Now we're not as much shaking hands or anything anymore, but having that professional greeting is very important. Listen to understand and not just respond. So make sure you're really taking in what is being asked of you or what is being communicated with you before you respond. And then when you do, make sure that you're tailoring your response to meet the customer's specific needs. So this is not a cookie cutter approach by any means. There are going to be different needs for different customers, and the way that you communicate that should be based on that customer and their needs. And one thing that I also want to throw out there is, because we're not, we're social distancing and not face to face as much, when we do have the opportunities to be face to face, that actually is really a good and I think fun thing that people are enjoying now. So just keep that in mind too, that, how you show up in that face-to-face communication could be very important to a customer that might have been social distancing and haven't talked to anyone in face-to-face in a month or two. And so let's talk a little bit about employee retention, because that's really important as well when we're talking about being professional. So employees, like customers, are more likely to stay with a company that has empowered employees. So again, setting the expectation communication so that your employees know how to show up for your customers and your clientele. So that way they're empowered to understand and know how to communicate with them. Also, role model supervisors that are not just a how the old saying is, do as I say and not as I do. But they're actually showing up as role models in the work environment to model that behavior for their employees. A good work environment, a lot of times we talk about open door policies, and it's kind of a buzzword, but really embodying that and understanding that, and that is what employees are looking for. They want their voices to be heard, and sometimes you can tailor things to those voices, and sometimes you can't, but making it understood that you appreciate the feedback that's being given, whether critical or not. And then a positive company culture. We all, for the most part, have to work. So making sure that when your employees are coming in, that they feel good about where they're working. And now, a lot of us are working from home. And so company culture is still a thing. Just because you're not showing up to a building all the time doesn't mean that the company culture is not important anymore. And that, can look a variety of different ways with communicating via video or phone, checking in through email, text, all of those things. So here are a few tips on what it means to show up professionally. So competence, making sure that you're good at what you do. There's always learning to be done. So making sure that you're keeping up with what it means in your different profession to be competent. Reliability, make sure you're showing up on time. Submit your work when you say you're going to. Communicate when you can't necessarily meet those deadlines or goals, and communicate why. And being a team player is very important. Your honesty, tell the truth about where things stand around your work projects. Your interactions that you've had, whether it be with a customer, a client, or with a coworker, and your overall efforts to get things done. Integrity, just make sure that you're consistent in your work principles and ethics. That's a big thing. Respect for others. Again, the golden rule: treat others how you would like to be treated. Be positive. There's always going to be something that could be done better or differently in our eyes, but making sure that even when communicating things that are not the best, that we try to have a positive tone with it, and we're not just beating each other down. And support of others. So sharing the spotlight with your colleagues is great. I'm really happy here at EOS. We have a really strong team dynamic, and we help each other out and bounce ideas off of each other. And there's no problem saying, hey, this person helped me with this, or we collaborated on that. So making sure that you're sharing that spotlight, being willing to make time for others, answer questions that they may have, and give insight that you have from your own experiences. So here are a few unprofessional behaviors to avoid. Some of these may seem like everyone should know it, but again, we never want to assume. So definitely do not conduct non-business tasks or work or running another business outside of your while you're on company time. Being on your personal cell phone and or during working hours or in front of customers is very unprofessional. Everyone understands that emergencies come up. You have to communicate with the kids, things like that. But making sure that you're taking that separate time out to do that and not just kind of walking around with your phone glued to your ear. Um, Accepting gifts or money, from kind of the quid pro quo type of thing. That is never a good thing, and you can get yourself and your company in trouble with doing that. Breaching confidentiality is a no-no, and participating in workplace gossip or throwing people under the bus is never good. It doesn't foster a good team atmosphere, and it creates a lot of tension and frustration amongst the team. So that's never a good thing as well. So although we're giving all of these tips on professional behavior, sometimes you're gonna have to deal with some unprofessional behaviors in the workplace. And so how do you deal with those things? How do you um, approach them in the right way? So the first thing you want to do as an employee, make sure that you stay calm. Do not appear visibly upset by raising your voice, using wild hand gestures or showing any other off-putting physical cues. Again, you want to control your emotions and try to approach it from a calm place. Um, don't take it personally. Again, like any other disagreement in the workplace, it's best to focus on the behavior that made you feel uncomfortable and not personal attacks on either your coworker, your manager, a client, a customer that may have said something to you. And communicate directly. I think that's one of the hardest things that we have to do sometimes, because a lot of people want to avoid conflict in any way. But it's always best to communicate directly with the person. Um, you want to talk directly to the individual about the issue, and be sure to request a mutual open dialogue and set boundaries for what's acceptable with one another or professional behavior in the workplace. And also, as HR professionals, we facilitate and mediate conversations all the time. So if you think that maybe a one-on-one is not going to be productive, pull in a third party that's going to be non-biased and help to facilitate the conversation. So as managers, you definitely want to determine what the issue or situation is. Is this a behavioral problem? Is this performance related? And start game planning some things that you can do to help kind of curve the behavior back towards what you're actually looking for. You want to make sure that you're investigating the situation. You never want to take one person's word without first investigating to make sure that you have the full story. Impose disciplinary action immediately. The more time that you wait, excuse me, sorry, the more time that separates undesirable behavior and its consequences, the less effective the discipline will be. So if someone did something 2 weeks ago and it's taking you 2 weeks to kind of talk about it, they've already forgotten. Memories are a little bit fuzzy about what happened and why it happened, and it doesn't become effective when you wait that long. Provide a basis for for any imposed discipline. So you want to provide objective, not subjective reasons for the discipline, and you want to cite specific examples of the job related behavior for which the discipline is based. So you don't want to just kind of throw out wild accusations. You want to make sure that you're focusing on exactly what the issue was and be as clear as possible for the goals moving forward to take care of that. Um, Make sure you're focusing on the issue, investigate the behavior rather than the person. Discipline should not be a personal attack upon the employee, and make sure that you're being consistent. So any disciplinary action taken should be the same for everyone, for anyone involved, and for any future violations of a similar nature. So you just want to make sure that you're being consistent to avoid accusations of favoritism, nepotism, things like that. So that concludes our training for today. Thank you for listening in with us. And I'm going to turn it over to Sarah to wrap us up.
Thank you so much, Alicia, for the important information. And for those who are watching, we wanted to give you a special offer that for the Creating a Safe Workplace training that we offer live via webinar. And this training is for the supervisor and the employee harassment and discrimination and abusive conduct prevention training. This is required in California and in several other states. So if you or your employees need to take advantage of this, we are currently offering a 25% discount if you purchase it using the discount code SAFE, S-A-F-E. And you can purchase this on our website at go.eoshr.com/safe-workplace. And if you have any questions about that, you can always email us at hr@eoshr.com. All right, thank you so much for your time. We hold our HR Power Hours every other week. And so if you'd like to find out about future HR Power Hours, then you can sign up at go.eoshr.com/power hour. And you will be put on our email list to be notified about upcoming events.
Great, thank you, ladies. We can wait for a minute for any questions from anyone, but we really appreciate anyone who's watching or will watch this webinar. Thank you so much.